Hello, Rihanna M. Hill here, today with Paul Cassimus. Excited to share a little bit of interview knowledge for our Breakfast With series. Paul is an awkwardly charming digital marketer based in Richmond, Virginia. He specializes in using storytelling with paid ads for lead generation. So, Paul, hello. How are you today?
I'm good, Rihanna. How are you doing?
Doing well. You're on the other side of the country from me today, kind of getting both points of the continental U.S.
Right. Yeah, we got both ends covered here.
Wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and kick this off with a very important question. How do you like your pancakes?
I love this question, and I love pancakes. I think that's why you and I get along so easily. I love like the first pancake on the griddle, get that like butter kind of crisp to it, and then from there maybe just like a little bit of butter on top of that. But I'm at a point I don't do maple syrup anymore unless it's like the like super pure like authentic like specialty stuff. But like if I'm at a diner or a local restaurant, they're gonna have that normal kind. It's like a good pancake to me just needs a little bit of butter. So that's how I'll eat them.
Very simple. Sounds great. Perfect. So moving on a little bit more into who are you? What makes you you?
Uh, I love how you phrase that question. So I'm a digital marketer, as you said in the bio. What I do is lead generation, which got kind of boring, at least to me, when I was saying it for about a year now. Recently added that awkwardly charming part in there. Just one as a way to like kind of stand out, but also that very much encompasses my personality. Forgot the exact story, but a previous business I had a popsicle business, if you can believe it, in Richmond, Virginia. We made all our own product, took it out in these little street carts, sold it, did caterings. And one of my first full-time employees, I think him and I were just chatting, and somehow that combination of words came up, like, Paul, like, you're just kind of like this awkwardly charming dude. I'm like, that's very accurate, because I don't know. So that's who I am. I guess that's a little bit of my background in terms of business, coming from a food, like specialty food business. And during that time, I just loved marketing. I mean, when I was doing is like, how do I grow this business? Well, social media, ads. If more people know about it, more people can buy it. And then as I transitioned doing this full time, just really like did a ton of self-education, a lot of work study I could easily apply to the existing business, and then doing other things that were beyond the scope of the other one. So that's a little bit of me, of who I am, where I came from, how I got here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Popsicle sales. You sure don't hear that too often.
No, there's a handful. I think each state maybe have like one or two of them, but I have a very unique skill. I'm a master popsicle maker. Like, I can make these flavors, blindfolded at this point. So if you need some tips on how to make a delicious popsicle, I could tell you some of my secrets.
Perfect. That sounds like a great LinkedIn bio in the making.
Yeah.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit more about the business you're in now.
Sure. So what I've been doing the past year has been a lot of Facebook ads, sales funnels, using ClickFunnels and all those kinds of softwares to set up these automations, and primarily in lead generation. So I've done a lot with dentists and gyms to bring them more patients, more clients. And I've done a little bit of e-commerce, which I think is a lot of fun. And it's a whole other different challenge. What I think is cool about it is you get these massive audiences you can target nationwide or worldwide. But what I really enjoy the most is working with these local businesses, capturing that local audience to grow. Because I know, local business is tough, and it's tough out there. So that's where I've been at. And then recently, as I mentioned with that title of awkwardly charming, just realized, like, what do I love to do the most, and what am I the most skilled at? I mean, you and I know a ton of people who do similar things with Facebook ads. And I was like, how do I continue to stand out and really emphasize where my strengths are, what I can do more uniquely? And just my love of writing turned into love of copywriting, and finding what makes a business interesting and unique, and then creating a story out of it. And it's almost like the more boring the business is, I think the more opportunity. And that's kind of what I'm drawn to. I was at a networking event yesterday, and this guy's like, yeah, I've got this glass business. He's kind of an older gentleman. He's like, yeah, there's just really nothing interesting. It's just glass. I was like, dude, you're wrong. Like, glass is fucking, it's awesome. It's dope. Like, and I started to think, like, how would I take that and make it fun and engaging? So that's what I really like to do. And going into 2020 as being a way to lead with, hey, I take your story, or I take your business, create a story of it in a way that a customer is going to resonate with. So you're not just saying, I just do glass, nothing really special. It's like, no, you are special. One, if you're in business for more than a year, like that's a tough benchmark to get to. And so how do we take that? Because this just makes it more fun. Like, I mean, I think business is fun. I think working with businesses should be fun, and being in business should be fun, especially because there was a time when I had a lot of ups and downs where I'm like, this, like, why did I do this? Why am I here? And it sucks. Like, it sucks to get into business and then realize, like, it's a lot different than what you'd imagine it. So try to keep it fun, keep it light, but also knowing, like, hey, let's grow the damn thing. Let's make you a lot of money.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. There's so much interesting elements that come up with different businesses, but yes, it can definitely be a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
With some of those ups, what has been one of your favorite memories with this business so far?
Oh man, I'd say can I say two kind of different things?
Sure.
One, I was insanely lucky and grateful to be able to speak at a Creative Mornings talk here in Richmond back in February of 2019. So that was like right when I was getting started, and the opportunity came up, through a little outreach and networking, and just the stars aligned for it. So that was really cool to be able to share a bit of my story at that point. But it was like still the very beginning of this new business that I've taken on. I mean, and I'd say my favorite part has been just my personal growth and professional growth. I've learned a ton and learned about how I want to be and operate in this crazy world. I mean, I went through a ton of that with King of Pops, the popsicle business, and I'm like hitting a plateau, and I'm like, oh well, I've gotten a lot of lessons. Well, there's even higher things that I didn't even think possible, and so a lot of it's just like being authentic and true to myself, and thinking like, how do I craft my personality into this new realm, and just speak truthfully. And that's a simple statement that wouldn't have resonated with me even a year ago, but just through these new challenges and this kind of mindset work, but also just professional development of learning things and how to be like, that's the most valuable thing I've ever gotten in my life, is that, I'm confident in who I am and speaking truthfully about just what I find to be valuable, and believing that what I have to say and do is valuable. Because a lot of us get that imposter syndrome. And it's funny because I spoke about that in Creative Mornings, and then I here's a whole other version of imposter syndrome that maybe I didn't realize. But just, yeah, that whole thing of like, what are my beliefs about myself and what I can do and the impact I can have. I think I'm trying to think, it's a little bit vague, maybe. Hopefully that makes some sense, but I'd say just those learnings that I can then take and share with others and have that impact with other people. Because when I talk to business owners, I mean, a lot of people go through the same struggles, and they're worried about, not just their bills and their revenue, but they're worried about like, well, how can I be a good leader and a good person to my employees, to my staff, and thinking like, oh, if I'm not being successful or projecting the epitome of what a successful entrepreneur looks like, then I'm somehow a failure. I think that's a thing society has gotten into, of like, oh, you always got to say things are great. If you're in business, no one wants to hear about your struggle. You got to be this like ultra confident, got it together person. And that's just not the case. So I think, having those conversations and more easily having conversations with people, of bringing up some of the like more difficult conversations, is very enlightening, and it's very, I guess, a freeing feeling for both of us.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people can relate to that imposter syndrome, as well as the amount that we grow through owning a business. Sometimes you feel, oh my goodness, there's so much more to learn. And yet you look back at where you were a year ago and think, wow, I've grown a lot already. So it's kind of a twofold piece there.
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned some of the difficult things, and there's always a lot of difficulties in starting and growing and owning a business. So let's go ahead and dive right into the sticky stuff. What are some of the major challenges in your business that you've had to overcome, or perhaps you're still working on?
Wow, that's an awesome question. I think what I'm working on, I mean, it's really myself and where do I want to go with it, and what vision do I have, and getting clarity around that, because I realized looking back, like I went through a lot of this past year either being a little too generic in how I presented myself. I do lead generation with Facebook ads. If you want to grow your business, let's chat. And that worked. I mean, that's paid the bills, paid myself, and I've been able to do just fine with that. But then having hesitations on how do I want to grow from there, and do I want to be lead generation expert? And I mean, the answer is yes, but knowing what it takes to commit to something and be truly great at it, to where, like, if someone's offering me a lot of money, it's like, yeah, I'm going to take that, and you're going to get a great return on it because my skills and time are valuable. So what I've struggled with was, do I want to be this agency or turn into an agency? Do I want to go all in on that lead gen side, or do I want to do other stuff that I think I can truly excel at? And so that's where I'd say the past 2 months at least, there's been a little bit of divergence, again, with the way I'm presenting myself, because I still will do that. And then I know, because we have this network of amazing folks who can do that fulfillment, I can still have that as a core offering. But just what I truly love doing is making content videos and writing articles and blogs. And, I've got videos where it's like filmed and edited, and I've got these multiple characters, and it's encompassing some type of business concept in a funny, silly way. And I have others that are just more content driven. But I thought, like, if all I was doing was just talking to people, meeting new people, podcasts like this, or just recording conversations that I have with people that I find to be insightful, and writing, like, that would be something I would do just for no money. And that's where I think I have an edge at, just because I love it and I think I'm good at it. So saying, how do I do both those things, what I'm passionate about, but also the things that pay the bills? Because, like, is my goal to have a blog that makes me a ton of money? No. Do I want to just write? Yes. So how do I bridge those? Like, if I can just be offering that value. So I'd say that was a struggle where I hesitated for a lot of things of, having my agency funnel going and generating leads and growing. And I put that off for quite some time, and I finally did it. I'm like, all right, it's go time. I think this was probably, let's say, September, October-ish, and ran it for a couple weeks, had a few leads, and I was just like, my heart is just not into this. I don't know why, but this is not it. And knowing, like, sure, if I close 1 or 2 of these leads coming in, I mean, that's significant amount of money, and that could be great. But I'm like, there's more to it than just trying to go for that immediate sale, or that immediate, I don't know, I guess client. And even though it's like, it's something I would love to do, I'm like, that whole process is not for me. Let me pivot a little bit and do more of a content strategy, so that it might take longer, but hopefully I'm attracting the type of client I want, the type of work that I want to be doing. So it's frightening, and it's getting over that fear of unknown. Like, dude, I don't know. Like, I mean, the projects I got now are great, and again, it's good. But if 2, 3 of these clients are suddenly gone in a couple months, well, like, it's scramble. It's like, I gotta, that's the nature of being in this type of industry. So I'd say, that is, and I feel like my questions, I'm getting a little self-conscious that I'm answering them there a little longer than maybe I should. But I'd say that, getting that clarity of where I truly want to be, as opposed to in the long run, as opposed to doing things in the short term just to keep the wheels moving, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Owning a service-based business really can be a feast or famine. As someone who also owns a Facebook marketing agency, I know like sometimes you have those 5-figure months and then sometimes you have several 0-figure months, and it's not necessarily fun. But I think a lot of people can relate to that challenge that you talked about of, well, this is what I love to do, but this is what the business should do. And sometimes we probably go through this in every stage of our career, even non-business owners, about, can I make a living doing something that I love? Is that real? Like there's some sort of strange theory that we have to struggle through work and not enjoy it. So I'm really happy that you touched on that. Good to find meaning and joy in what you do, and it brings you success. So that's awesome. Well, as two marketing agencies, I have to address this question. How's your marketing going now?
Oh, stuff I'm doing for clients is going very well. For myself, it's ramping up. I've only recently gotten my newsletter together or started sending out. I sent my second email out ever yesterday, actually. So improving. An expression that our mutual friend Stan Way has said, the cobbler's kids don't have shoes. So for me, it was, the marketing agency doesn't have their own marketing, or very inconsistent, because I'll post like a video a week for a month and then go 2 months without anything, or get active on LinkedIn to just interact and put myself out there, and then forget. But I've gotten, it's slowly getting better where I'm getting a video, I'm putting it onto YouTube, I'm putting it onto LinkedIn, I'm having a teaser video perhaps on LinkedIn to announce it. I'm getting that same video in all the channels. So it's improving. I'm getting more clarity on what I want to do, or at least just how to structure it. Because one thing that I held up was, I get a ton of value for free from people in groups that we're in. And I'm thinking, well, how do I take what I know and do it? How can I separate what's the stuff I should give out for free and then what's the stuff I should charge for? And that was a major mental block. And then I realized, like, no, it doesn't, like, there is no secret sauce. Like, there is no like thing I'm going to keep secret. And actually that was inhibiting me of thinking that way. Just one of those kind of blind spots that I had, because if you read anybody's book, they give out everything that they do, but they're still making money with consultations, whatever, because where you make the money is, okay, I see all the concepts you're saying. Now take that and then help me implement it to my specific business with my unique challenges. And that's where you get paid for it. So that now that I've overcome that block, it's almost like the floodgates are open and I can see, all right, I'm going to have this like free kind of video training course on how to get a few things set up with Facebook, how to get started onto, doing ads or looking at MailChimp, how to get it set up and how to get started with it. Because I know once they reach a point, they're either going to just be awesome at it and keep doing it, and like, great, they didn't need me in the first place, or they're like, I like this, I don't have time for it because I'm a business owner, I got a billion other things to do. So, but again, it's just, you give. And that being my focus for 2020 is really improving my own marketing with email, video, blog content, and getting it out there.
Absolutely. I think that's another reason we get along so well, especially with these groups that we're in, is there is so much about just giving, and there's no secret sauce, there's no recipe. That's definitely a block I had to overcome too, because a lot of those first learning lessons is, oh, I need to charge for all of this, especially when you are an information-based product. You're selling your expertise. It seems, oh my goodness, why would you give that away? But honestly, that's probably the best thing I ever did for my business.
Yeah, it's funny because when you hear stuff like that, and this was a concept I'd learned years ago of like being able to grasp paradoxical or conflicting ideas that are both equally true. So, and the difference is the timing in which you hear it, is when that's going to be true. So if you hear from someone who's established and we're like, hell yeah, don't give away your stuff for free. Like charge what you're worth. And that's great advice. But to someone starting out, you can get conflicted on, well, I'm not going to post anything, or I'm not going to give anything away because I've been told by someone who's very successful to charge for everything. So it's knowing when to do each of those things. And I mean, we were talking about marketing and content a second ago. I mean, your stuff is inspiring to me. I mean, you give out a ton of stuff on your agency page, and then your personal stuff. I see in the groups, you post a lot of stuff, and even like the questions I think are fantastic, because it gets like, a question is great to spark in someone's mind. Like, well, what is my morning routine, or what books am I reading? Like, people forget that, hey, just read a book. It's very easy until you ask that question. Like, oh shit, I'm actually not reading anything. Maybe I should. Simple stuff like that. So just a little divergent to the topic. I really dig your content strategy, and I see it all the time. I think it's great.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And I'm glad you made that clarifying point about where we're at in business can mean different things we need to do as well. What stage? So let's shift gears here a little bit and talk a little bit more about some of your first jobs. What were they, and how have they helped you get to this point?
Oh, yes, I do. I remember this. Okay. First job ever, I was a scorekeeper in rec league basketball. So I grew up in Roswell, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta. They had an amazing youth recreation sports program. So before I could drive, and this was all because of my older brother, I basically just did whatever he did, and maybe in a way still do. I really look up to him. But he was scorekeeping basketball. He loved sports. So just, working the clock, writing down the points, things like that. And at, 14, 15, when my parents were like, all right, you need to get a job. I'm like, well, I can't drive. Doesn't matter. We'll drive you to your work. So that was something I could do. They hired kids our age. And then once I got my license, I worked much more within that recreation department, where what I would do is set up practices, set up games, make sure the referees are there, make sure the scorekeeper has all the stuff they need. I would take a city truck with a bunch of keys that could open up like a lot of locks around the park system and in the city. A lot of responsibility to give to high school kids. And there's a lot that I learned from it. Just, it was cool having that independence and that trust that the managers just bestowed upon us, because we had like a major park system to monitor on a given evening. And the managers at one location, and there might be 5 of us part-timers out and about. But I remember one guy said, and he was introducing me to somebody like who I don't know who. He was like, hey, this is Paul. Like he's one of our best part-timers. And I'm very, very much summing up, because I don't have the best recollection of like the details, but I think when the guy left, I was like, oh, Jerry, like, there's no way I'm the best, like, or one of the best. Like, it's like, no, Paul, like, he's like, I'm not joking. Like, I wouldn't just like, what's the term? I wouldn't just like, boost your ego like that. So it was something where like, I believed. I'm like, okay, well, I wonder why. And I think he went on, it's like, you show up on time, you do what you're supposed to do. And so that concept of, if all you're doing is just whatever the job lays out, but you are consistently on time and do it, that actually propels you to being above average. Because it's shocking how many people don't even show up on time, or, hey, here's the 5 tasks I need you to do. So a lot of people are gonna be like, hey, I did 3 of them. And then for the other 2, I just decided to just not do one of them. And the other one, I went on a whole different way. And then now, having been a manager where I had a buttload of part-time employees with the popsicle business, like I don't need your spin. Like for certain things, you just have to do it. And you just need to follow the process. So that concept of all it takes to be above average is to be consistently average, stuck in. And there might be some people who would completely disagree with that. That's been true for me. But then, of course, to get to the top percent, it's a whole other world. But I think for the vast majority of people, whether you're a high school student, college student looking for a job, applying somewhere, just be consistent in the simplest tasks, and you'll be fine. So those were, that was like, first high school job. Great experience.
That's wonderful. And thank you so much for throwing all that advice in there. It's I found that as well. Just showing up on time and doing what you're asked puts people ahead of above average. Absolutely. And that kind of moves us into the next question of knowing what you know now. What advice would you give someone just getting started? And yeah, show up on time and do your work. That's a huge one for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I would say, yeah, it's
Do you have any other nuggets about that?
Yeah, sorry, hold on. Am I still with you?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I think the video was cutting in and out. So, yeah, actually, repeat that question. Technical difficulties throughout my mind here, or throughout my process of thinking.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, we'll restart and edit this part out. So great point. Bringing up that showing up puts you above average. Just doing the work that you're told and showing up on time is great. That really helps kind of transition into that next question, what is some good advice that you would give someone who's just getting started, especially knowing what you know now, having been an employee, a manager, all those other responsibility levels?
Sure. I guess when you say getting started, would that be whether they're getting started in their own business or into a job, or maybe potentially both?
Yeah, whatever comes to mind, but probably a little bit more business.
Okay. Yeah. I would say, so I had a conversation with another business owner on Monday, and he's been doing management consulting for over 10 years. Guy I look up to tremendously, John Sarve, Flora Kane. But we were just chatting some management concepts, which I love to death, having come from, again, having a team. And also, I didn't mention this, I was a public school teacher for 2 years. So learned a tremendous amount of what leadership and management looks like from the trenches of teaching public school. But a concept that I don't know how to best explain, but I clarified it better, of being likable. And why that's a loaded thing that I'm hesitant to say is because it makes people think, well, it goes against what I said earlier about authenticity. Like, well, if you're being likable, you're trying to people please and all that. And that's not what that means, because what John and I spoke about was being likable can be being trustworthy and being honest. So we've all had that coach, hopefully, or that teacher who you didn't like at first, but they told you what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. And so because of that, you grew. So over time, you're like, I think of this coach I had in high school who was an asshole. He was a major dick to me, at least to a point. And then I grew, and then suddenly, like, my level of play went up dramatically. And so is he likable? Yes. When you first meet him, absolutely not. But why he's likable is because he was honest. He told me not what I wanted to hear. Oh, you're doing good. You're doing fine. Whatever. He's like, Paul, like, that sucked. Or, he was blunt. He's like what you could imagine, a coach being like in terms of his language. But I would say overall, like, he was a likable guy. So I think that's a good example of doing, like, just don't be an asshole to people. Don't be abrasive, like, because you can be, you don't have to agree with everybody. You don't have to try to be like that well-liked person, but just be easy to work with. If you've got your own business, obviously you don't answer to anyone, but you actually do answer to your customers and your potential customers. So reply to emails timely, make your emails easy to read. I'll send an email sometimes. It takes me 10 minutes to write because I'm revising it. I'm trying to make sure that my tone comes out. I actually use a lot of exclamation points. And sometimes I'll revise like, holy shit, every sentence has an exclamation point. I need to edit this. But I want to convey a personality into it. And when I had my popsicle business, these event planners loved me because I sent them the application on time. They didn't have to come chasing me to get these permits and these other things that they needed. And so that actually, came from what I spoke about in my first job. Like, I broke a lot of rules. Like, I for the actual event, I'd show up at different time than I was supposed to, but also like our setup was easier and they knew me. So I knew like I could kind of push that envelope. I was like, yeah, we just roll up and we're ready to set up in 5 minutes. Other people take an hour to set up. But they would say, or a couple would be like, yeah, we get these applications from vendors that are completely missing, some major documents that we need. And then we email them, they're unresponsive. And so, yeah, all I did was I did exactly what they asked me to, no more, no less. So that being an example, I guess, just the advice of do what people ask you exactly how they ask you. And then do that first before you try to go above and beyond. Because as a manager, again, if I ask you to do like a couple tasks and then you're like, hey, I didn't do these, but look how I went above and beyond and did something else. I'm like, no, I didn't need that. I didn't want that to happen. So if you do it in that order, I think that's the way to get ahead. And you're going to make mistakes, young. I made a buttload of mistakes. I probably wouldn't even hire myself for my popsicle business if I were, in college still. Like, dude, this guy has no personality and no like drive. But I think that's a mistake people fall into of like wanting to go above and beyond and make their own unique contribution. But you have to do the necessary things first. And same with, whether that's being likable to somebody else, but it's also for your own stuff. You got to handle your messaging, your marketing, your accounting first before you can take creative leaps with your business. And that's something, again, I'd mentioned I'm going through now. Like I had to have a steady revenue generating activities to then be like, okay, now maybe I can offer some different things where it might not have worked out if I had done it differently. So to sum it all up, we'll say, do the things you got to do and do them just exactly how, and then do the extra stuff to be likable. And whatever your definition of being likable is, it could be being honest with someone. It could giving like, here's the cold hard truth in a nice way without again, just don't be a dick. Be easy to work with. If someone's sharing an idea with you, don't just like knock it down. Be like, that's interesting. Let's hear more about it. I think, there's a lot of ways, and that's something that I'd love to try to vocalize and have a whole series of articles and videos on. But it's just how do you just operate in general? People are like, you know what? Paul has I'm going to help him out. I'm going to do him a favor because he just shows that he's a caring person. He's kind. He's generous. And that's what I strive to be. I mean, maybe there were times, and there's times that probably I haven't exemplified that, but I'm always working on myself. So if you can get people to relate where they're like, yeah, I go out of my way to help this person move. And that might be like a way to gauge it. If you can call a bunch of your friends and a lot of them show up to help you move your stuff, that's a good place to be. But if you're the type of person you call and suddenly everyone's busy and it's just you, maybe you haven't been the best of friend. And that example can be applied to the work scenario, to any scenario. Hey, lawyer friend, can you help me with this thing? Yeah. If they are dragging their feet and it takes them weeks and weeks, you probably don't have the best rapport with them. But if they flip it around back to you, okay, that's valuable to you. And that, you can track that time. Again, I'm getting on a little tangent here, but I'll just end on that note.
No, those soft skills are so important. And I'm really glad that you went on that tangent. And I just want to repeat what you said, because I think that that's so important. And I've had that conversation with many, many people and we can think back to this of our time of being employees. You have those two managers where something desperate happens, and one of them you just really don't want to help, but the other one you're happy to go out of your way to help them with anything. And that really, I think, when you think about it, it's those soft skills that you're talking about. Did they care about you when you came up with something, or were they just kind of, blew you off? Oh, that idea is stupid. So, hello.
It just usually gives me a warning if I'm cutting out, but it just like totally cut out.
No worries. We'll start over real quick, just wrapping up. Was just saying, Okay. Yes, I definitely want to appreciate that tangent and repeat it because it's so important to have those soft skills. We can think back to times when we were employees and there's one manager, something bad happens, one manager asks you to do it, you don't want to do it. Another manager asks you to do it, you're happy to stay late and help them. And what are the differences? Why did you help the one manager and not the other? So that's a great tangent. So to have our listeners, to help them out, where can they find you if they want to know more?
Right now, my website is paulcassimus.com. Facebook, Paul Cassimus Marketing, or Facebook/Paul Cassimus Marketing. YouTube is Brainweight Consulting. And very soon, I'll have a website for brainweightconsulting.com. I'll keep the other one of my name, just, maybe I want to have a personal page. But that's YouTube is where all my videos are. LinkedIn, link just dash. I don't think there's any other Paul Cassimus on LinkedIn, or at least not that I've seen, because they didn't put like a number at the end of my name. I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, I'm on all that. Not on Instagram. I just find Instagram, I don't know. I'm not going to use it for my own personal business, but I'd say go to YouTube first. You can really see all the videos are there contained. But then, LinkedIn and my website have those articles that I've written as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much to all of our listeners. This has been Breakfast with Paul Cassimus and Rihanna Amhill. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. It's great having you, being here.